Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another video here with me, Steve. I don't have Ian here because Ian is at work, and I figured I'd do a video here on our channel about the MLB free agents. I have done this before. I did on my other channel, and I figured I would just do one like of all the free agents on here. Like, there's a lot of free agents like on here. Like, you can see like a lot of names there, like catcher, first baseman, second baseman, third, short, left, center, and right, and probably designated hitters too, and pitchers, relief pitchers as well, and closers. I mean, I'm probably not going to be able to do like all these names and stuff, but I saw one person that was doing the video. You probably know him. It's Giraffe Neck Mark, Giraffe Neck Gaming, whatever basically you want to call him, but let's put his Mark. So it's not going to be like I mean, I guess I could call it a response video or whatever, or just it's not really a reaction video either. It's just pretty much, he said about some players on there, maybe joining the Orioles, which one of them, I mean, there is one on there I do disagree with. I mean, most of the times, I disagree with what he says. He is, I mean, he puts like some bold predictions and stuff, but sometimes they're not right, but you know, I'm gonna do one on here and just go over like a bunch of these free agents on here. And yes, I do have another iPhone again because you can see the logo. It's an iPhone 8 Plus. I did have a Samsung previously, which, and again, I'm not really big on Samsung phones or Android. And I did have an iPhone 12 Pro Max, but unfortunately, I sold that a while ago to pay bills. Yeah, as you know, I was living with my girlfriend, but unfortunately, we couldn't afford everything. But that's okay. Anyway, let's continue. So we're going to start with the catchers. Now, of course, the Orioles don't really need any catchers. We did have James McCann, and it looks like on here that he is not on there. So it looks like James McCann will be back. So there's pretty much no players on there I think the Orioles would need, but maybe like someone in the minors. And the only person on here that I think maybe the Orioles would sign, uh, personally, I don't think anybody. I mean, we have Gary Sanchez. He'll probably go to Cleveland. I think he would go to them. Mitch Garver, he'll return to the Texas Rangers. Victor Caratini, I'd say. Now, of course, these players, could go like, unsigned. They may not go to a team. They can either retire or just go to another team, like, not the majors. They could go to like a team, like somewhere else. But I'm just going to probably name people on here. Roberto Perez, I say he goes to the Yankees. Austin Hedges, I say he goes to San Diego. Kirk Casale goes to Oakland. Well, actually, it's not going to be Oakland anymore. It's actually going to be the Las Vegas Athletics. Yeah, I guess because of the fact with Oakland, losing like the Raiders and now losing the Oakland Athletics. And of course, people are not too thrilled about that. I mean, to me, they've always been, the Oakland Athletics. I think they also were the Philadelphia Athletics and a few others. But to me, yeah, I mean, that I'm not too thrilled about this, but it'll probably be for the better. How the Raiders, left Oakland and they went to Las Vegas, but they also were the Los Angeles Raiders before too, which would have been pretty cool, I thought. But if they would have moved the Athletics to Los Angeles and would have become the Los Angeles Athletics, I don't think really that would have, made sense. But anyway, Jorge Alfaro, I think he doesn't get signed by a team. Same with Michael Perez. Tucker Barnhart, I think he goes to San Francisco. Manny Pena, well, he's 37 according to here. I say he goes to Minnesota. Mike Zunino, I say he goes to Pittsburgh. Yasmani Grandal, who's 35, and Mark said he was going to return. I thought he said to San Diego or something, but I see Yasmani Grandal. I think he played for the Brewers before. I say he goes to the Cubs. Martin Maldonado, he's 37. I don't think really that he'll go to a team. I say he retires. And Sandy Leone, I thought he was with the Orioles one time, but not like on the team. I think in the minors. But I say that he goes to Tampa Bay. Now our first baseman. Now again, I'm just going to go with the names on there, like names. I think for these players. Like names that stand out there. Names that well, kind of like big names. Anyway, Reese Hoskins. I say that he returns to Philadelphia. I don't think he's going anywhere. Carlos Santana, who's 38, and he's probably got maybe about a year left in the tank, but I say that he goes to the Giants. Brandon Belt, he was previously with the Toronto Blue Jays, I believe, and I think he personally, I mean, again, these players could retire, as I mentioned. Don't mean to repeat, but I say Brandon Belt will go to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Trey Mancini, a guy who beat colon cancer, and unfortunately, he's still not with the Orioles. I thought that he was going to return. He did win a World Series ring with the Houston Astros, which I really didn't want because, well, my opinion of the Astros, but I really would like to see Trey Mancini return to the Orioles. He's been with us since 2016. He had a few good years with us. He should have been an all-star at least once with us. And I really think that Trey Mancini, should return to Baltimore. But even though we have Ryan Mountcastle and Ryan O'Hearn was a very big surprise for us. And I really think it would be nice for Trey Mancini to return. I mean, even though Ryan Mountcastle, with him playing first base, and same with O'Hearn, there isn't any other positions Mancini can play. Well, he can do left field and right field and designated hitter. But unfortunately, I don't think Trey Mancini is going to return to Baltimore. I think, well, Mark said that he goes to the White Sox. I kind of disagree with that, even though they probably do need a first baseman, but I don't really know. I think Trey Mancini will probably go to the Atlanta Braves. I'd really like to see that, even though they have Matt Olson, but they have a designated hitter in the National League. So, yeah, I think he goes to Atlanta. Joey Votto. Now, yeah, Joey Votto is 40, and he's a candidate for the MLB and for the Baseball Hall of Fame, but I don't really know. I mean, you have to look at his stats on here. Like, I'm going to look at his stats on MLB real quick and look up Joey Votto and see, like, his stats. I mean, he's probably got Hall of Fame numbers, but you got to look at the numbers and see, like, if he is, Hall of Fame worthy. He probably is, but let's just take a look. He's an MVP winner from 2010, I think. Didn't really have a good season. We didn't play in a lot of games. He batted .202 with 14 homers and 38 RBIs. He has a .294 career average, which is great. 356 career home runs, which is pretty good as well, too. He's a Canadian. A lot of RBIs, 1144. And for career hits, because that's another thing that matters too, he has 2,135. Now, to me, that's a little bit too low. If he had like a little bit, like over 2,600 or more, but he's been injured, a good amount of times too. And his best season was probably 2010 when he won the MVP award, but he played in 150 games and he played in 161, or unless it was 2011 when he won the MVP, but average has always been, pretty good for him. He's got a good career average. But really, I mean, if he had played like a little bit more games, he probably, would be a candidate for the Hall of Fame. But right now, I say, unfortunately, no. He doesn't have the numbers, unfortunately. He'll probably get about 30% of votes. But to me, no, I don't think that he's going to get in the Hall of Fame. But I do think, personally, that he's going to retire. I mean, he's 40, like I said, and he's kind of been struggling with the injuries a little bit. But personally, I just say Joey Votto will retire. Same with Yuli Gurriel. He's 40, and I don't think it makes sense for him to be on a team. Eric Hosmer, I think it'd be interesting if he returned to Kansas City, but I don't think he'll do that. I'd say he goes to the Nationals. C.J. Cron, who did pretty good, I think, with the Rockies, I say he returns to them. G-Man Choi, I say he goes to the Marlins. Garrett Cooper, I'm going to say he goes to the Minnesota Twins. Donovan Solano, I'm going to go with the no, because the Cardinals really don't need a player. Let's go with the Mets. Probably sound interesting. I mean, like the other players, like Jake Lamb and Luke Voigt. I mean, I say that they, stay free agents. Now let's go to second base. Elvis Andrews, guy who's been around, a pretty good while. He's been playing with Oakland, Texas, and the White Sox. I'm going to say that he will go to the Blue Jays. I think it'd be interesting. Or actually, no, because they got Marcus Semien. I forgot about him. Actually, I'm sorry. I say he goes to the Giants. Whit Merrifield, I say he sticks with the Blue Jays. I mean, I thought he was with the Blue Jays last season, or I. Where was Whit Merrifield last year? Was he a Blue Jay, or was he with? I mean, I know there's a lot of people probably telling me, like where he was exactly, but I'm just looking up one here, and it'll tell me where Whit Merrifield was. Because I thought for sure that he. Well, I think he was a Blue Jay. I think it says on here that he was. Turn down the TV a little bit. He batted 272 with 11 homers and 67 RBIs, and he was a Blue Jay. Played 145 games, 149 hits, 11 homers, 67 RBIs, and he batted 272. So not too bad, for that guy. But I think that he probably will not return, to Toronto. And I made a mistake. Marcus Semien is with the Rangers. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's my apologies. But the Orioles really, the Orioles do kind of need a second baseman because I think right now their shortstop is going to be Gunnar Henderson, which I think makes sense to me. Even though we got players coming up, Jordan Westburg, who probably will be our second baseman, but it kind of would be interesting, though, to see Whit Merrifield be our second baseman until Jordan Westburg, is ready, or Joey Ortiz, gets some playing time as well, too. But personally, I think Whit Merrifield, if he goes to Baltimore, that'd be pretty interesting. But I think really he'll return to Toronto. And sorry again about Marcus Semien. I thought he was a Blue Jay still, but he was with Texas. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Let's continue. Adam Frazier, a guy who was with Baltimore. Well, he actually did pretty good to me. I mean, I'm going to look at his stats as well, too, and see what he did. Because I think really Adam Frazier did pretty good. He played in a good amount of games at Baltimore, but he batted 240 according to this. He played in 141 with the Orioles. He had 99 hits, not as much as he had in 2021. But Pittsburgh, he was pretty good. And then San Diego, he spent some time a little bit. He was with Seattle last year. Yeah, he had 13 homers and 60 RBIs at Baltimore, actually, which was a career high. Yeah, I think that's a career high. Yeah, the RBIs, 13 homers and 60 RBIs. That's actually the most that he's had. But the average, which is 240, which is not good. But I would like to see Adam Frazier return, though. I mean, that would be pretty interesting. But I don't think, personally, that he might. Because we do have Jordan Westburg and Joey Ortiz. But I'd like to see Adam Frazier return. If he doesn't return to Baltimore, then I think he goes to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Jonathan Scope, a guy who the Orioles had, for a good amount of years, and he was actually, pretty good. I mean, I know a lot of people. I'm trying to look for his name, Jonathan Scope. There it is. And he's from Caraco, something like that. Unfortunately, he didn't do all that much. He had that one good season with Baltimore in 2017, I think. He was with Detroit recently. Now, it would be nice for Jonathan Scope to return, but of course, 2017 had 182 hits. 2021, he was actually pretty good. He had 32 homers and he batted 293. That's actually really good. He played in 160 games. But personally, I don't think Jonathan Scope would return to the Orioles. But again, it would be nice, though. But I personally don't think, the Orioles will bring him back. They tried it, with Michael Givens, and Michael Givens really didn't do that great, unfortunately. But I say Scope plays for a team, and I think he goes to Arizona. Rougned Odor, the guy, of course, remembered for punching Jose Bautista in the face. Rougned Odor, did play for the Orioles in 2022, I think. and he actually did pretty decent. Played in 135 games, 88 hits, 13 homers, but he batted 207. He actually did pretty good in one of the months from the Orioles, like the month of May or something like that, or June, one of them. And he got a Player of the Month card or something on MLB The Show, MLB The Show 22 from last year. But personally, no, he's not going to come back to Baltimore. But I say he goes to San Francisco. Josh Harrison, who's been around a pretty good while. He's played for Pittsburgh and a few others. I'm not really going to look up his stats. So I'm going to say he goes to. It would be nice to see him return to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm going to say that. Hanser Alberto, who's a former Oriole, he won't return to Baltimore. I say he goes to Tampa Bay. And Lurie Garcia, I say he goes to Minnesota. Now the shortstops. Now the names that are like out there. Mark said that Brandon Crawford would go to Boston. Ever since the Red Sox losing Xander Bogaerts to the Padres. I disagree with that. I don't think he goes to Boston. I'd say that he returns to San Francisco. Ahmed Rosario, who actually did pretty well for Cleveland, I say returns to them. Tim Anderson, a guy who played for the Chicago White Sox, I say he goes to a different team, and I say that he goes actually to the Yankees. That may be a pretty, bold statement right there or whatever, but I don't think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is going to stay. I think he goes to a different team. I say he goes to Arizona. Paul DeJong, I say he goes to Milwaukee. Nick Ahmed, I say he goes to the. Let's go with the Mets. I say he goes there. Joey Wendell, I say he goes to. I say he goes to Cleveland. Alberto Mondesi, who was injured pretty much a good amount, I say he'll go to the Chicago Cubs. The rest of these people, Danny Mendick, Kiki Hernandez. Well, Kiki Hernandez, I think, will sign somebody. I say he goes back to the Dodgers. The rest of the players, I think they'll be free agents or may retire. Matt Chapman, one of the names for the third baseman. That's where we're at now, the third baseman. Matt Chapman, he's going to be one of the names on the free agent market. But could the Orioles sign him? Because, in my opinion, with our third baseman issue right now, because we've had Gunnar Henderson playing third base, and I think somebody else as well, too. We did have Jorge Mateo at shortstop. But personally, I'm not sure. I think Matt Chapman actually would be not bad. I kind of would prefer him over Justin Turner, who was an Oriole way back in like 2011, but he didn't really put up the numbers like he did before. But Matt Chapman, he's 31. That would be pretty interesting, for him to sign, with Baltimore, probably for at least a 3-year contract for about probably $30 million, but he probably wants more than that. But I say that he sticks with Toronto. I say he stays. Justin Turner, I don't think he's going to return to Boston. They got a lot of, different people on there, instead of him. I don't think he returns to, it would be interesting to see him return to the Mets. I'm going to say that he shall go to the Rockies. Jameer Candelario, I'm going to say he goes to Detroit. Gio Urshela, I'm going to say he goes to the Minnesota Twins. I think he was with them, but I forgot, but that's all right. Josh Donaldson, I'm going to say he retires. Yes, he was an MVP in 2015, but I don't think he's going to go to a team. Evan Longoria, he did pretty well. He was with Arizona, but I don't think, he goes to a team. I think he retires as well, too. Eduardo Escobar, I'm going to say he goes to Pittsburgh. Brian Anderson, I think he goes to Miami. Gene Segura, I think he goes to Philadelphia. Matt Duffy, I say he just signed. Well, of course, these players will probably sign like minor league contracts with somebody. I say he'll go to the Giants. Charlie Culberson, I say he goes back to Atlanta. Mike Moustakas goes back to Kansas City. And Hunter Dozier, I say, goes to Oakland or Las Vegas, whatever. Yeah. No, we didn't skip one. Okay. I thought we didn't do shortstops. Anyway, let's continue. Let's go with the left fielders. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I say he goes to Texas. Jock Peterson, I think he was with San Francisco or one of them. I think he goes to Atlanta. Tommy Pham, who actually did pretty well, I'm going to say he goes to the Cubs. David Peralta, I say he goes to New York, the Yankees, that is. Michael Brantley, I'd like to see him return to Cleveland. I would really like to see him, come back to Cleveland and for like a year or two. I'm going to say that. I say he goes to Cleveland, gets away from Houston. Joey Gallo, this is the player Mark said that the Orioles might sign, and he'll have like a comeback year or something or whatever, basically. But I'm sorry, I disagree with that. We have Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Anthony Santander. It makes no sense for Joey Gallo to come to Baltimore. We have Ryan Mountcastle and Ryan O'Hearn. So again, I disagree with that. I say Joey Gallo goes to the Marlins. Travis Jankowski, I say he goes to the Mets. Jurickson Profar, I'll say the Giants. Jordan Luplow, I'll go with the Braves. Eddie Rosario, I'll say Oakland. Robbie Grossman, I'll say Houston. Corey Dickerson, I will go with the Twins. Ben Gamble, I'll say he remains a free agent. And A.J. Pollock, I'll say he goes to the Dodgers. It would be nice to see him return there. Cody Bellinger. Now, this is a name, that kind of, is out there. I don't know. I mean, because Cody Bellinger, he's only 28. He's been struggling ever since he won the MVP award in 2019 with the Dodgers. I would like to see the Orioles, pick him up. He can play first base. He can play left field, center field, right field, and DH as well. He's a left-handed hitter. Be nice to see him hit some home runs on the Utah street. Would be nice if he could. But I don't know about this. I mean, if we sign him, it'd probably be a 3-year deal once again for about probably $20-some million. I mean, he did. I'm trying to see how he did recently with the Cubs. I think he was with. I mean, it's one of the names that's out there on the free agent market. He batted .307 with 26 homers and 97 RBIs. He played in 130 games, had 153 hits, which actually is pretty good. If he probably would have played in 162, he probably would have had more. But yeah, I mean, he had that great season in 2019, batted .305. His career average is .307, which is pretty good. He's got 178 career home runs. Excuse me, his career average is .258. I'm sorry. Has 178 career home runs. He's putting up some good numbers, right now. And for hits, he has 805. He's not. I thought he had maybe over 1,000, but if he had probably played in more games in 2021, yeah, he might have. But it would be interesting to see Cody Bellinger come to Baltimore, but I don't think really that's going to happen, unfortunately. So I would say he goes to Atlanta. It would be nice to see him go to the Braves. Kevin Kiermaier, who actually has been doing well. He played recently with the Toronto Blue Jays. Made some good plays and stuff. He batted .265 with 8 homers and 36 RBIs. He played in 129 games, and yeah, he did pretty much all right. Not the greatest or anything like that. Could he return to Tampa Bay? Maybe, but I don't. Personally, from my perspective, I don't think so. I'm going to say that he goes to. I'm going to say the Cincinnati Reds. I'm going to say a National League team. Michael A. Taylor, I mean, even though the Reds with Ellie De La Cruz, but I think he's mostly a shortstop. He can probably play outfield. But Michael A. Taylor, I say he goes to Pittsburgh. Adam Duvall back to Atlanta. Harrison Bader, I think he returns to the Yankees. Aaron Hicks, a guy who actually did pretty well with Baltimore. I mean, we signed him to a deal, and he had some, good home runs for us and stuff. I mean, he even did good in the postseason. He really did. He had 8 homers and 36 RBIs, and he batted .253 with Baltimore. And I think the Yankees, are really kicking themselves, for what they did. He went to the playoffs with us, and he did really good, and he did good in the postseason as well. I say personally that he stays with Baltimore. I would like to see him, come back. Really would be nice. Rafael Ortega, I say, goes to the Giants. Jake Marisnick returns to Houston. Billy Hamilton goes back to Seattle, I think. Adam Engel back to the White Sox, and Jackie Bradley Jr. to Tampa Bay, I think. Now the right fielders, Teoscar Hernandez. This guy kind of struggled though. I think he led. I want to say he led, in strikeouts, but he really struggled. I think with what is it, Seattle, and I say he goes to Cincinnati. I think that would make sense. Hunter Renfroe, I say he goes to the Rockies. Jason Hayward, this would be interesting to see him return to Atlanta. I mean, he was always a pretty good player. I mean, well, he's kind of like, I think, struggled with injuries and a few others. I'd say he goes to Philadelphia. Yeah, it would be nice to see him go to the Phillies. I mean, even though they have Bryce Harper, but they could probably put, Bryce Harper mostly does DH, of course. But I think, Hayward can play right field. Randall Grichuk, I say he goes to the Pirates. Will Myers, I think he goes to Atlanta. Tyler Naquin, I'm going to say the Blue Jays. Kevin Pillar, I'm going to say the Red Sox, not Kevin Millar, the other guy, Kevin Pillar. And Cole Calhoun, I say he goes to the Mets. And now the designated hitters, and of course, this is pretty much the biggest one of them all, Shohei Ohtani. So I know there's a lot of names out there, that are interested, or a lot of teams are interested in him. I mean, yeah, this is like, a guy that can pitch and hit, but from what I heard that he is not going to pitch. From what I heard, I mean, I don't really know, but that is what I heard. But I'm going to say Shohei Ohtani returns to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I personally think that he's going to stay. JD Martinez, I say he goes to the Yankees, even though with Aaron Judge, but he can be a designated hitter once again. That's what his position is on here. Jorge Soler, who actually did pretty well. I think it was from Miami or whoever he played for, somebody. I mean, it would be interesting to see him come to Baltimore, but I don't think Soler, will do that. I mean, he hit 250, which is not great, with 36 homers and 75 RBIs, and played in 137 games. So, yeah, not great, not terrible. I mean, he had that one amazing season with Kansas City in 2019. He slugged 48 home runs and batted 265, which, again, is not great. But I'd say he goes to San Diego. I think he goes to the Padres, Jorge Soler. Andrew McCutchen, he was recently with Pittsburgh, and he actually did all right. I'm just, looking up, like, how he did. Yeah, because he did return to Pittsburgh, and he batted 256, which is not great. And, of course, he put up, like, a lot of good numbers. He won the MVP in 2013. He had 12 homers and 43 RBIs, and he's still got, some years left. He's also played for a few other teams, the Giants, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Brewers, and then the Pittsburgh Pirates again. But yeah, of course, he didn't put up the numbers like he used to. But I say that for Andrew McCutchen, I'm going to say he goes to Minnesota. Despite them with Byron Buxton, but I'm sure McCutchen can still play outfield. Jesse Winker, I think, returns to Cincinnati. Darren Ruff, I'm gonna take a shot and say San Francisco. Nelson Cruz just retired, put up a lot of good numbers. I mean, I don't think personally he would have played anyway. I think he was going to retire anyway. Tommy La Stella, I say, goes to Detroit, and Brad Miller, I think, goes to Toronto. And now the starting pitchers, and of course we got a good amount on here. Well, we already got Shohei Ohtani covered. Aaron Nola, I'm going to say he returns to Philadelphia. Blake Snell, the Cy Young Award winner for 2023. I say Blake Snell returns to Pittsburgh. I don't think he's going anywhere. Sonny Gray, who was with the Minnesota Twins and actually did pretty well. He was in the top 3, for the Cy Young Award. It would be nice to see him come to Baltimore. I mean, some people, I think, have been considering that, but I don't know about Sonny Gray. I mean, he's, pretty good and stuff, even though the Orioles have got starting pitchers, but we will get into them. I mean, I just think personally that he's going to return to Minnesota. Jordan Montgomery, I think he returns to Texas. Clayton Kershaw sticks around with the Dodgers. Marcus Stroman, I say he goes to the Mets. Probably interesting there, but yeah. Kyle Gibson, who was with the Orioles this year, I personally don't know about him returning to Baltimore. I mean, he didn't do like the greatest. I mean, he put up some good numbers though. He was 15-9 with Baltimore. I mean, some games he should have won, but he got like a no decision, I think. His ERA was high though. It was 4.73. He pitched 192 innings and struck out 157, which I think is a career high for him. I think. I'm just looking at his stats on here. No, his career high is 2018. He struck out 179 with Minnesota, and his ERA was 3.62, which actually was pretty good. But the wins, though, is actually a lot. 15 wins is a career high for him. The highest that he won besides 15 before that, it was 13. He did it twice with Minnesota in 2014 and 2019. So personally, I don't know about Kyle Gibson returning to Baltimore. I mean, it would be nice though, but I don't know. I mean, they could bring him back. Would probably be a 1 year deal though. But I think personally, Kyle Gibson. I think he's going to go to Cleveland. I think that would be something. I don't think he returns to Minnesota or goes back to Philadelphia. Martin Perez, I say Texas. Julio Urias or Urias, whatever way it's pronounced, I say he's going to go to Atlanta. Michael Waka, I think he returns to San Diego. Eduardo Rodriguez, this is a guy that's a left-hander, and actually he was an Oriole. Well, he was in the organization of the Orioles, and he actually did pretty well. I actually would like to see Eduardo Rodriguez come to Baltimore. He was 13-9. This is the guy that the Orioles actually traded, I think, for Andrew Miller or something like that, and also Jamal Weeks or something like that. I think this is the guy that the Orioles traded, for Andrew Miller back in 2014. But it would be actually pretty interesting, for the Orioles to sign this guy. He had a really good season in 2019. Despite his ERA being high, it was 3.81, but he was 19-6 with the Boston Red Sox, and he struck out 213 batters. I mean, it would be nice to see him come to Baltimore because we kind of do need a lefty in the rotation. But yeah, I don't know about Eduardo Rodriguez. I mean, this would be, I think a good deal for Baltimore, but I think he's going to go to San Francisco. Seth Lugo, I'm going to say he goes to Kansas City. Zach Greinke, who just left the Kansas City Royals and he tipped his hat and all that, which kind of thinks, it might be, his last game. Well, it was his last game as a Royal, but it could be his last game. He could be retiring. I think personally he does retire. Lucas Giolito, I thought he was in trade talks with Baltimore, but actually no, it was another person. I'd say that he goes to I'm gonna say Tampa Bay he goes to. Michael Lorenzen, who threw that no-hitter, I believe, for the I think it was the Phillies or something like that. I think he'll go to Seattle. Mike Clevenger, I think he'll go. I hope not Baltimore. I mean, he's okay and all that, but I don't think he goes to Baltimore. I think Mike Clevenger goes to probably Colorado. Rich Hill, a guy who's been around for a good while, since 2009 actually, probably a little bit longer than that. He's 44, but he could sign maybe with one team, but I don't know who it would be. I mean, he's pitched for a good amount. Would be interesting to see him on the Yankees, so I'll say that. I'll say he goes to the Yankees. Tyler Mahle or Mile, whatever, I think it's pronounced Mahle. I don't really know. I say he goes to Chicago, the Cubs. No, White Sox. Lance Lynn, I think he goes to the Cubs. Corey Kluber, the former Cy Young Award winner who has been with Boston and Cleveland and I think Tampa Bay as well. I think he was with Texas as well too. I think I'd like to see him go to the Braves. I don't think really about that. I mean, I was gonna say Seattle, but I was like, nah, I think Atlanta. Carlos Carrasco, I think he goes to. I say the Brewers. Sean Manaea, a person that the Orioles were in trade talks with as well too, or signing. I mean, personally, he is another left-hander, but I don't know about that. I think Mania goes to. I'm gonna say he goes to. Um, I'm gonna say Milwaukee as well too. Frankie Montes, I say he goes to the Rockies. Alex Wood, a left-hander with a very unique delivery, I say he goes to Tampa Bay. Jack Flaherty, who was with the Orioles recently, and he unfortunately struggled a little bit with Baltimore. He got off to a good start, like in his first start, but then the rest of them was kind of like, nah. Then he pitched like in the bullpen as well. And I don't know if he was on the World Series roster. I wish. Yeah, I wish we could have went that far, but yeah, I don't think he was on the playoffs roster. I'm not really too sure, but I say that Jack Flaherty goes to the Cubs. Johnny Cueto, the guy that I consider the balker, because the way that he pitches and stuff, and throws and all that, I really can't stand it when he does that. I mean, not really a fan of him that much, but I say Johnny Cueto goes to. I don't think Texas. I'd say Cleveland. Give me Cleveland. Noah Syndergaard, who always was a pretty good pitcher with the New York Mets. Don't think he goes back to them. I say he goes to Minnesota. Wade Miley, a former Oriole back in 2016 and 17, I think, and he struggled in 2017. 16, he was decent, but don't see him going back to Baltimore, even though we need a lefty. But I think he goes to the that's a tough one. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna say the Tampa Bay Rays. Kenta Maeda sticks with Minnesota. Zach Davies, I'm gonna say the Brewers. Jake Odorizzi, I'm gonna say Atlanta. I know I wasn't really going to be going over like a lot of these names on here and stuff, but I figure I would. I mean, it's my video, and I can like do that if I want to. Anyway, where are we at? Vince Velasquez, I say goes to Detroit. Matthew Boyd to Pittsburgh. James Paxton, I say to Toronto. Luke Weaver, I'm going to say Arizona. Luis Severino, I think he goes back to the Yankees. Brad Keller, I'm going to say St. Louis. Hyun-Jin Ryu, I'll say the Giants. Chase Anderson, Milwaukee. Eric Fetty, I'm going to go with Philadelphia. Eric Lauer, I say Atlanta. Julio Teheran, he used to be an Atlanta Brave. I'm going to say Arizona. Chris Flexen, I think, I'll say Minnesota. Jose Urena, definitely not Baltimore, I don't think. I know I'm not saying Baltimore a lot of times. I'll say Boston. Madison Bumgarner, would be nice to see him return to San Francisco, but I don't think they're going to bring him back. I'd say Colorado. Chad Cool, or Cole, whatever this name is pronounced. I think it was that. I think he'll go to Pittsburgh. Dallas Keuchel, who was a former Cy Young Award winner back in, was it 2015 or 16, 17, one of them years? I don't remember. But I'd say the Mets. Tommy Malone, I had to take a shot and say Tampa Bay. And Drew Rosinski, whatever it's pronounced, I personally don't know. I'll go with Pittsburgh. All right, now the relief pitchers. Now I'm gonna try and not, go over like a lot of them. I took up some time, starting pitchers and the rest of them because I didn't do like some of the other players, like the first baseman and stuff and third base. I mean, I went over like some of them, I think, but the rest of them, they're just well, we'll see what I can do. All right, now we're on to the relief pitchers. It's a lot of them too. Ronaldo Lopez, I say the White Sox. Josh Hader, Texas. Hector Neris, Philadelphia. Jacob Junis. This was a guy that Mark said the Orioles would sign. I say Boston. Craig Kimbrell. I say Philadelphia. Matt Moore. Atlanta. David Robertson could retire, but could be a minor league contract maybe, but I don't really know. I'll go Colorado. Chris Stratton, Atlanta. Dylan Floro, Pittsburgh. Ryan Brazier, San Francisco. Nick Martinez. A lot of these names, of course, I don't really know as well too, because of the fact that I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know like their stats, enough. I mean, or there's just a lot of names on here and stuff. I mean, like, I don't know really if I should go over the whole names. Like Ian Kennedy retired. Aroldis Chapman, who's one of the names on there, but we left off the other person. Was it Nick Martinez? Yeah, I think so. I'd say Detroit. Colin McHugh, I say Texas. Buck Farmer, Cincinnati. Luis Garcia, Detroit. Liam Hendricks, I say returns to the White Sox. Aroldis Chapman, Rangers, I think he returns them. Jesse Chavez, no idea. Andrew Chafin, don't know. Jordan Hicks, I'd say Tampa Bay. Joe Kelly, I think he returns to the Dodgers. Anthony Bass, San Francisco. Joe Brebbia, don't know. Robert Stevenson, Cincinnati. Brent Suter, Milwaukee. Michael Fulmer, Atlanta. Scott Alexander, Miami. Adam Ottavino. This is the person that Mark said might go to the Orioles. I'm actually going to probably agree with that. That would be nice. But he's a pretty pretty good relief pitcher. Emilio Pagan, San Francisco. Will Smith, Atlanta. Ryan Stanek, Miami. Daniel Hudson, Pittsburgh. Shelby Miller, Atlanta. Brad Hand, Cleveland. Brad Boxberger, Milwaukee. Chris Davinsky. There's a lot of names on here. I mean, I know I said I don't know a couple of times. I say Oakland. Carl Edwards Jr., the Cubs. Aaron Loop, who's got like a little delivery, Mets. Phil Maton, Cleveland. Wandy Peralta, Milwaukee. Joey Rodriguez, Boston. Richard Blyer, a former Oriole. Would be nice to see him return to Baltimore, but I'm gonna actually not say that. I mean, I thought about it. I was like, nah. I'm gonna go with the Pirates. Amir Garrett, Cincinnati. Might be interesting for that, but yeah. Matt Barnes, I say Boston. Luis Sessa, the White Sox. Shintaro Fujinami, who was that person the Orioles had, and unfortunately, he didn't really do all that great. I say Minnesota. Matt Wisler, Minnesota again. Justin Wilson. Isn't he like a starter or something like that? I can't really remember. Or no, that was Justin Steele. The Mets. Jose Cisnero, Arizona. Mark Melanson, Atlanta. Erasmo Ramirez, Cincinnati. Or actually Seattle. Let me go with the White Sox. I'm sorry. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there, and it's so hard to go with these names on there. But anyway, Nick Whitgren, Pittsburgh. Alex Claudio, Atlanta. Michael Gibbons, a former Oriole. I don't know if the Orioles will bring him back, though. I'm going to say Tampa Bay. Dinelson Lamet, Yankees. Jarlin Garcia, San Francisco. Brian Shaw, Rockies. Chasen Shreve, guess it is, Cleveland. Jacob Barnes, Milwaukee. Jake Diekman, the Mets. Keenan Middleton, San Diego. Ryan Tepera, Texas, the Rangers. Alex Colomé, Miami. Tommy Hunter, former Oriole. Where are we at? I had a message. I'm sorry. Anyway, Tommy Hunter, I say the Mets. Kirby Yates, San Francisco. J.B. Wendelken, Boston. Tyler Duffy, Minnesota. Juris Familia, I say it goes back to the Mets. Heath Embry, Red Sox. Daniel Norris, Atlanta. Dominic Leone, I say Texas. Drew Verhagen, Pittsburgh. Caleb Smith, San Francisco. Ian Kennedy, he just retired. Yuki Matsui, I said Yankees. That'd be interesting. Jimmy Nelson, Brewers. Drew Pomeranz, I say Boston. And Alex Reyes, Atlanta. And that's it. I know, like, there's a lot of names out there and stuff, but really, I mean, there's just like so much out there. I mean, it's tough like to pick some teams, even though some of them may not get picked up by a team, they may retire, or they probably sign a minor league contract, or they whatever they might do. Like I said, but yeah, so that's done. So yeah, so I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Thanks again for joining, everybody. As always, well, this is kind of like a live video, but you know the deal. I mean, so thanks again, everybody, for watching. You all take care. Thanks again for joining.